Hi guys, it's your girl EvaStormXox. I'm just here. I just got home from a long day of being outside and shopping and all that stuff. So I'm just gonna be making a chicken paprika stroganoff there. So I have all my ingredients on the counter here. I'm gonna be using a little bit of ghee in there. I'm gonna be using 2 different paprikas there. So I've got this one. I've also got the Hungarian style paprika there. I've got some flour. I've got some of that garlic powder there. I'm doing it with boneless, skinless chicken thighs there. I'm also going to be using some chicken stock there. Be using a little bit of that Worcestershire sauce there. However you say that crazy sauce. I'll be using some sour cream. Got some olive oil there. I've also got some pepper, some Hungarian spices there, steak seasoning, but I love this for everything. I've got some seasoning salt. Got an onion. I've got the egg noodles here. We've got cremini mushrooms. I've got thyme. I've got Dijon mustard there. And lastly, I've got the minced garlic. So those will be the ingredients to make my chicken paprika kind of European style stroganoff there. So once again, I'm just going to show you all these ingredients. A little messy on the counter here, so my apologies, but here we go. Garlic, mushroom, spices, oil, egg noodles, onion, seasoning, sour cream, Worcestershire, chicken thighs, chicken stock, flour, garlic powder, paprikas, and instead of unsalted butter, I'm going to throw in some ghee. Now I just finished cutting the mushrooms and the onions. I'm just about to start the next step. Now those boneless chicken thighs are now cut up as well, and I'm just about to cook those. So I'm just going to be starting with that avocado oil spray here. Generous little spray in there. I'm going to be adding that chicken in there. Then I'll be adding those chicken thighs there. And I'm also going to be placing my seasoning on it now. Some salt, pepper, and some of that steak seasoning there. And a little bit of seasoning salt in there. Mixing that all around, getting everything coated in that seasoning and spice mix there. Gotta save that little piece of chicken there. So I'm just going to remove those chicken thighs now from the pan here and set it aside. It's looking pretty cooked to me. It'll also cook a little bit extra once it goes in the sauce. Next, I'm going to be placing those mushrooms in there. I'm not going to stir them. I'm just going to give them a quick little spread out here. Let them sit for about 3 to 4 minutes there so they kind of come a little bit crispy there. Might spray a little bit more avocado oil in there. Let that sit for a few minutes. I just added in a few extra mushrooms there just because it didn't look like too much, and I know my husband really does enjoy his mushrooms. I'm personally not a fan of it, but I also want to make something enjoyable for him, so I added in some more. If I have to pick them out, that's okay, as long as my husband enjoys some of his favorite foods. Now I'm going to be placing those onions in. I'm going to cook them for 2 to 3 minutes. So I'm just mixing that up there. And then I'll be coating it with some garlic, some paprika, and some flour. And I'll be tossing it around really well. Now you want to make sure your onion becomes translucent in there. Once it's almost that translucent see-through color, then you know they are ready to be coated in the rest of the seasonings and flour and stuff. Adding in that garlic. So I'm using minced garlic because I honestly don't want to do all the work of chopping it up. There we go. Next thing we'll be adding in some of that paprika there. I'll do 1 tablespoon of each paprika. We're going to do a tablespoon of that Hungarian paprika there. Probably a heaping tablespoon because I love my paprika. And then we'll do 1 of that sweet one as well. So there we have it. And then we're also going to be adding in 2 tablespoons of that flour. Now we're just adding in that flour. We're going to add 2 of those here. And then I'm also going to add in some garlic powder and onion powder as well. Now I'm just going to coat that really, really well. Make sure everything has a lot of that seasoning, spices, flour on top of it. Let it sit for a minute there. I'm going to be using that Campbell's chicken stock here. I'm going to add a little bit more than what the recipe says. 1.5 cups here. Next, I'll be adding in a tablespoon of that Dijon mustard here. So I'm going to be getting a nice little tablespoon there. This will probably fit the whole spoon there. Pop that in there. Shake it all in. Then I'm going to load it up with some thyme seasoning there. Kind of sprinkle it all in. Get lots of it in there to bring out some flavor. And I'm just going to sprinkle in a little bit of onion powder as well. And a little bit of garlic salt. Next, we'll be using a little bit of that garlic powder there. Not garlic salt, but garlic powder. Sorry, guys. So bring that to a boil. We should be getting our egg noodles in pretty soon. The water's starting to bubble there. Once this boils, though, the sauce here, we're going to be adding that chicken thighs back into it. Now, I also want to add in a little bit of this Worcestershire sauce. The recipe does not call for it, but I would like to add it in. Now, it's not a lot, just a little bit there to add in a little extra seasoning. We're going to be adding some salt, some pepper. Now I'll just be adding in those chicken thighs, letting it cook and simmer in the sauce. I also seasoned it with a little bit more of that seasoning salt there, just to add that little bit more flavor to kind of bring out the chicken a bit more. Now we're coating everything in there, making sure it's nice and saucy. Now while the sauce is simmering, I'm just going to start those egg noodles. I'm going to put like 3 to 4 heaping handfuls in there, kind of judge it by looking at it there. Gonna make some for 3 people, maybe a little extra for mom and dad if there's leftover. They've already had their dinner, but maybe they want to try it. Well, your girl just put the whole darn bag in there, so hopefully it's okay. I figure, you know what, if there's any leftovers, we'll have chicken and noodles another day. Could be lunch tomorrow. You never know. I'm gonna add a little bit of that salt to the pasta there. Next, I'm scooping out that sour cream here, so I've measured kind of like that much there. I'm going to put that into the sauce here. Once I mix it around, then I'm going to reduce the temperature there. Now I've added in that sour cream. I'm just going to give it a good mixture here, and then I'm going to reduce the temperature. This will make it really kind of smooth and creamy in there. I may even add a little bit more, just depends on the color and texture. You just kind of figure out what you're looking for here, and you just kind of taste and test the sauce here to find the right kind of spice level and texture level there. I ended up adding in a little bit more sour cream there, a little bit more Worcestershire, a teeny little bit of Dijon, and more of that thyme there. Just kind of creating the flavor palette that I personally enjoy, and hopefully everybody else will like it. Now I've turned the temperature down there. I'm just going to let it simmer for a little bit. I've got those egg noodles cooking, so just kind of a waiting game now. Kind of excited. It's the first time I've ever made stroganoff on my own. I've kind of created it into my own little kind of conjunction here, so hopefully, fingers crossed there, that it tastes good. Added in a little bit of that desi ghee here, so as you can see, I'm going to mix it all around, kind of make it a little bit more rich and add that creaminess in there. Just going to let it melt among the sauce there. I sprinkled it in a tiny bit more seasoning salt as well. Now that sauce is done and ready. I added in a teeny bit more of that chicken stock. The noodles are ready. I dumped it into the sink over here. Sorry for the mess in there, but those are the noodles, so they're just going to dry a little bit in there. And then I'll be plating it out here in a second there. Alright guys, that is Hungarian European chicken paprika stroganoff there. So let's give it a try and see how it tastes.